As you're probably already aware, the World Cup is happening this year, which is super. Here's my prediction for it. So just to let you know, going through every match in the group stage, filled out every single one, and made up the league tables accordingly. I'm not just going to put teams in where I think they'll finish in the group. The order of the fixtures does have bearing on this, so I filled that out. If you wish to skip the group stage, although I'll only be covering matches that I picked kind of a surprise result, if you want to skip the group stages, just go straight to this time here. Okay, so here we go. So in Group A, I have Uruguay top, Egypt second, Saudi Arabia third, and the hosts Russia last, with no points. And I have the kind of the standout game in this group really is the first one, the Russia-Saudi Arabia game. I picked Saudi Arabia to win this one 3-2 because Saudi Arabia they're a counter-attacking team with lots of pace up top, and Russia's defence is actually not that sound. Russia like to keep possession, so once Russia go forwards into that bank of Saudi defenders, I think Saudi will be able to fly up the other side and score. So unless there's any corruption going on, then I reckon Saudi will actually win this one. It'll be quite a high scoring game. So that's the reasoning behind that one. Another close game as well, Russia versus Egypt. I think it's just the same thing really. Egypt actually have more quality than Saudi Arabia, but I just think Saudi will need to score more goals because their own defence isn't as good. Uruguay as well, obviously have got quality up front with Suarez and Cavani, so I eyes them down to win most of their games. They drew against Egypt. I think they'll scrap out enough points to get through. And doesn't last game Egypt, Saudi Arabia, I think Egypt just have more quality than Saudi Arabia more than anything. They're quite similar the way they set up. So that's Group A. Okay, so in Group B, I have Spain finished top, Portugal second, and then as was kind of expected, Morocco and Iran in third and fourth. Now, you might notice that I've got Morocco in the same number of points as Portugal and Spain. The reason for this is their manager, really. Hervé Renard, he's won the last two African Cup of Nations, beat Ivory Coast 2-0 to qualify Morocco for these championships, so I actually reckon they'll be able to put up a decent fight against Portugal and Spain. I think I have them drawing against the both of them, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so any standout games? So obviously the big one is the Portugal and Spain game, the first one. Now I reckon Portugal was set up the same way as they did in Euro 2016. They'll set up the same way they did in Euro 2016, quite defensively. Now I reckon Spain will be able to pick that apart, but I just reckon Portugal will score from somewhere. Spain's defence is quite good, but I just reckon it'll be a tight game, not many goals. So I went for a 1-1 draw on that one. I also had Portugal to draw against Morocco. This is because, again, I said Morocco do have quality in that team. They've players like Belanda and Roman Saiss and Ayman Abdenour. So they've got a good spine in that team. Now the only thing I'd worry about with Morocco is goals. I reckon they'll get a lot from set pieces, which they probably won't against Portugal. But I reckon they'll grab a few goals here and there. So I have them to draw against Portugal, and against Spain for the same reason. I reckon Spain will be able to pass it around them no problem. But I just reckon with their physicality, and they do have quality in Morocco, so I reckon they'll get a few goals, alright. But unfortunately for them, they went out on goal difference, so they won't be going through to the last 16, because I reckon goals could be a problem for them. Although I reckon they will be competitive. In Group C, I have France, Denmark, Australia, and Peru in that order. I think this is actually less close than people imagine it to be. I know actually in the last few days, Australia have appointed Bert van Marwijk as their coach, so he'll be quite defensive, although they were playing, I think, 3-4-3 beforehand. Quite an open style, so it'll be difficult for them to change. I don't know why they changed their manager so close to the World Cup itself, but I actually reckon it's not a bad plan, but I still don't think they'll get out of the group, even with Marwijk in charge. France are grinding out 2-1 victories against Australia and Peru. I reckon they'll beat Denmark quite handy, because Denmark haven't come up against that top tier opposition in European qualifying anyway. And yeah, I reckon France will do kind of what they did in the group stage in 2016 in the Euros and just grind out results. Denmark coming second, so let's see where their important results came from. Now, I reckon Peru will be quite defensive, so I have Denmark to beat them 3-1, because being Irish, I know what Denmark like to do to defensive teams, and I reckon if you try and sit back against Denmark, it's probably to your own downfall. Actually attacking them could be the way to really unsettle them, because they have a very strange 3-5-2 shape. So getting down the wings, especially because they've got unnatural wing backs, I think in Poulsen and Striker Larsen, you attack them, which I think France will, I think they'll get results. But if you sit back, as I anticipate that Peru and Australia will do, I reckon Denmark will be able to grind out results against those two. So that's why I have Denmark going through ahead of Australia and Peru. Group D. Now you may see here that I've got Iceland finishing top, Argentina second, Croatia third, and Nigeria in last place, and Croatia and Argentina on the same number of points. Now here's the reasoning with that. It's actually quite simple if you think about it. Argentina did not have a good qualifying campaign. You can go with your household names however much you want, but the fact of the matter is they did not perform well in qualifying. Their front line is slow, their back line is slow, and Sampaoli's pressing system doesn't fit that whatsoever. So I have a few shock results in there, including their opener against Iceland. Now I reckon, from watching Liverpool, who are a pressing team, Sampaoli likes to press with his Argentina side and his Chile side before that. The problem with pressing is, if the other team doesn't have the ball, you can't press them. Iceland were notorious for defending in such beautiful banks of four. That's three. In such beautiful banks of four in the European Championships. And they topped a competitive qualifying group as well. So they're in good form, Iceland. So I reckon actually Iceland could spring what would be considered a surprise in this one, but I actually reckon they'll win it 2-1 against Argentina, and that'll set them up nicely for draws against Nigeria and Croatia, who probably won't be as pressing and will probably let Iceland have more of the ball. Iceland, they did finish above Croatia in their qualifying group as well. So that's kind of why I had them above Croatia, even though Croatia have more quality players, so to speak. Any other surprises in this one? So most of the games are pretty close with a lot of draws. I do have Nigeria drawing 2-2 with Argentina, although Nigeria did beat Argentina 4-2 in a friendly a few months ago, which kind of shows the flaws of Sampaoli's system against counter-attacking teams again, because Nigeria can just sit in, and with the pace they have up front, with Iheanacho and, although Iwobi isn't great, and Moses and the like, I reckon they may even win that one and go through Nigeria. So it's a tough group to call. I'll say that for certain. It's closer than a lot of people would think. Any of the four can go through, but I've Iceland and Argentina here based on the results and on the last day, because Nigeria will need to win, being on 1 point. Argentina, being on 3, will also need to win or get a draw. So they'll all need to win. And I've both of the last round of games down as draws. On to Group E. Okay, so here, this was the top pick in this group is quite easy. I thought Brazil gonna win all of their games. Do I have them winning all the games? I do. Costa Rica second, I think Serbia third, no, Switzerland third, and Serbia fourth. Obviously you got to see Serbia in European qualifying, playing against Ireland. Brilliant defensively. May struggled for goals up front with Mitrovic, although he does have quality, but he just doesn't get enough game time with Newcastle. I reckon Serbia could easily go through in this group, but I just reckon out of all the three teams, I think Switzerland don't really do it at major tournaments. They're too conservative, they don't attack enough. They can get exploited by good quality teams, as you saw in the last World Cup with France beating them 5-1. I think they were knocked out by Poland in the last Euros as well, so yeah, it could be a struggle for Switzerland, I think. I don't understand how they manage to qualify for like every major tournament, and then they do awful when they get there. They're like England. Any surprise results in this one? I don't think there is. I have a few narrow victories either side. I suppose you could say the Switzerland-Costa Rica game is decider. Now, I could have easily gone for an 0-0 draw in this one, but I reckon Costa Rica, they were a pressing side in the 2014 World Cup, and they've done well in qualifying again, coming second, I think, to Mexico. So I reckon they'll just have enough. There's just something about Costa Rica for me that makes me think that they'll have more grit than Switzerland. I don't think Serbia have the attacking flair to go forward and score loads of goals. So although I do reckon Serbia will pick up points, but I think it's Costa Rica to go through from this one. All round, I think they're a better team. They work harder. I think that's what'll serve them going forward. Okay, so in Group F, I've Germany, Sweden coming in ahead of Mexico, and South Korea finishing last with no points. Now, if you've watched European qualifying, which I've gone on quite a good bit in this, but I'm from Europe, so you would imagine that I watch more of that than the rest of the qualifiers. Now, I do know Mexico finished top of CONCACAF, but they do that every time, so there's not much competition for them there. Sweden play very well in big games, and I actually have them beating Germany. If you remember, Sweden, I think they beat France in the Stade de France as well, or in the Parc de France, wherever that game was on. They won or they drew. They're able to grind out results, Sweden. They're able to score goals too. They got 8 against Luxembourg. Now, I know it was Luxembourg, but it was funny because the Dutch coach, at the time, Dick Advocat, he said that there's no way they'd score 8, and then they did. So they finished above Holland, I think, on goal difference or points or something. But Sweden do have quality. People question whether it would be there without Ibrahimovic, but I actually think the team is more well-rounded without him, to be perfectly honest. Forsberg is a quality winger. I've watched him in a few games now, and he's really impressed me. I hope he signs for Liverpool, to be perfectly honest, but we don't seem to want to buy anybody. Okay, so it's the shock results. Germany beating Mexico in the first game 3-1. I just don't see where the magic is happening for the Mexicans. Hernandez isn't scoring regularly for West Ham. The two Velas haven't done anything of note recently. They're relatively solid in the back line, so they might do something there. I think so. Sweden beating Germany 2-1. Now, the reason I've them beating Germany don't normally lose in shock games, but the reason I have Sweden beating Germany is because Germany, they bought a young side to the last Confederations Cup. Now, I know they did win it, but they can't win anything with kids, as the saying goes. I don't think they've got enough experience. They've lost Lamb from the last World Cup. They've lost Schweinsteiger. Muller isn't in form, although knowing the World Cup, he'll probably score about 5 goals in the total of the tournament. Who else? They've lost. Klose isn't around the team anymore. Hummels may or may not be injured. Boateng may or may not be injured, you don't know. Neuer's been out for quite a while with Bayern. So I think they've lost a lot of old heads in that team. So I reckon, although I think they'll be fine in this World Cup, I don't see them winning it, as you'll see later. Yeah, other than that, there's no real shocks, to be honest. I do have Mexico beating Sweden. I don't know why I did that, but, I don't think Mexico will get no points. I think they'll be competitive in the group, no doubt, but I just don't see them getting through. I think Sweden have more quality than Mexico, to be perfectly honest. Probably better tactical setup as well. Okay, so on to Group G. Belgium, England, Tunisia, Panama, in that order. Surprise results in this one. Tunisia drawing against England. England always starts slowly at big tournaments. Don't think Tunisia are blessed with an awful lot of quality either, so I don't think see them beating England, but I think they'll be able to get a draw because they're quite defensive. Anyone else? England 2, Belgium 2. I think England are solid defensively, but they shit the bed at major tournaments, so that's why Belgium scoring. I do have Belgium conceding a lot of goals in this tournament because they're managed by Roberto Martinez, whose teams are infamous for doing so. And yeah, I don't really see Tunisia springing many surprises, although I hope they do. And on to Group H. Group H, Colombia, Senegal, Poland, and Japan in that order. Tight group, anybody could go through. I think we know that. Although I do have Japan finishing on no points and everybody else on 5. Just don't think Japan have the quality. They were quite lucky to qualify out of Asia. Poland 0, Senegal 0. First 0 of the tournament in the first week. Any shocks? I don't think there's any many shocks. A lot of the games I have down as draws. Senegal 2, Colombia 2. I think Poland and Japan are kind of the defensive teams in the group, and Senegal and Colombia, well, Senegal probably counter-attack, but Colombia, I think, have the most quality out of all of them. So I reckon they'll go through, and I reckon it'll be up between Senegal and Poland then for the second spot, although Poland do have Lewandowski, but whether they can supply him is another question. So then that leads us to the round of 16, which has some very tasty ties in it. Iceland, Denmark, the old Scandinavian affair, and France and Argentina, a very big one. So we'll start with the first one, Uruguay against Portugal. I have this down as 1-1. Two defensive teams coming up against each other. I think Ronaldo will score. Suarez stays fit during the tournament. I've no doubt he'll bag goals along with Cavani. So I reckon I have this down as 1-1. And what I did was I drew two teams out of a hat. See who will go through to the next round, because that's what penalties are. They're a lottery. And Uruguay came out, so Uruguay going through to the last 8. Then France, Argentina. I think Argentina could be lucky to even get out of their group, so France actually beating them narrowly 2-1, with France grinding out the results again. So France through to the last 8 there. Brazil, Sweden, as I've mentioned already, Sweden do have quality going forward. They're organised in defence, but I just think Brazil's attack is too much. Their attack's been poor in the last few years, but I think with Firmino in particular up top, with Neymar, I think they'll score goals, no doubt. Firmino's movement, especially if they play him centrally up the top in the number 9 position, he'll cause havoc for any defence. So I think he'll be the key for Brazil, to be perfectly honest, if they're to go far in this tournament, which I think they will. So if Brazil to win that one 3-2. Belgium against Senegal. Belgium will leak goals, there is no doubt. They'll also score them. I have this down as 2-2. In the draw from the hat, Belgium came out. Unfortunately, I was hoping Senegal would, but it was Belgium. So Belgium go through to face Brazil in the last 8. Spain against Egypt. I just reckon Spain's midfield will have too much quality for Egypt, and then Spain will win 2-1 from passing Egypt off the park. I think Salah's a good player, but there's only so much one man can do. Can't bail out a dodgy defence forever, isn't that right? So then Iceland drawing 2-2 against Denmark. Again, I actually reckon Denmark could win this one if it came about, but there's just something about Iceland, as I've said, that makes me think they'll grab goals. They do have an amazing team spirit. So at this one coming down 2-2, and Iceland actually won the draw. So they'll be going through to the last 8. I've Germany beaten Costa Rica 4-1. Just reckon Germany will pass Costa Rica off the park. They'll get tired towards the end, Costa Rica, and I reckon it could be late goals for Germany in this one. I've England to beat Colombia 2-1 because Falcao's getting on a bit, isn't he? And Rodriguez hasn't been a regular for Bayern, so I reckon Colombia's star players may not be at the same peak as they were at the last World Cup. I just reckon England will grind it out. As much as that pains me to say it, I reckon England will make the quarterfinals. Make it for the last 8 quarterfinals. Uruguay against France. I think France again will just grind out another win as they do. They've got a good defence. Sure how they'll link forward in attack, but I reckon they'll have enough against Uruguay. I don't think Uruguay have the quality in midfield that France have. That's where the game is kind of won and lost really, so France to win that one 2-1. I think Brazil will destroy Belgium if they come up against them. Particularly again Firmino's movement. I think Neymar could rip up, especially if Belgium are playing a 3-5-2. Neymar will have all that space and out wide to exploit, or else he'll end up pinning in the fullback. Just think Brazil's attacking quality will be too much. I don't think Belgium will score against them, but I think Belgium being managed by Martinez isn't good going into a major tournament, so Brazil to win that one 4-1. Spain against Iceland, again, I think this is where Iceland's luck runs out. I think Spain will beat them by just passing them off the park, essentially, just having a little bit more quality. Iceland may score from set pieces, but when Iceland came up against France in the Euros, they got demolished quite early. They were down, I think, 4-0 or 4-1. And for that reason, I think they will exit at this stage. Germany will beat England, there is absolutely no doubt about that. So I've that going down to a 3-1, as they always do. Won't even go to penalties. Sorry, England, you're going to get knocked out fair and square. Semi-finals, France will lose to Brazil because Brazil have more quality up front. Giroud is starting for France. I think him linking up with players like Mbappe, Lotin and Griezmann, it's proven it doesn't work. There's no natural number 10 playing in midfield. So I think for that reason, France could struggle to link up. I think Brazil's midfield is a lot more fluid, although it has less quality with Augusto, Rafinha and Paulinho in there. Fernandinho's good though. So I think Brazil will win this one 3-1. Germany, I think, will just have more fluidity to their play than Spain. I'm actually surprised that Spain made it this far. I don't think Spain are as good as they were. They definitely don't have the attacking power that they once did, so I reckon for that reason Germany will just outscore them and win 2-1. In the final, Brazil against Germany. Now, the last time this game happened, it finished 7-1 to Germany. This time round, as I said, because Germany's team is a lot younger and inexperienced, I reckon Brazil will right the wrongs of what they did last time. Their attack is too strong, their defence is solid as long as Thiago Silva doesn't get injured again. I reckon it's going to finish 2-2, but I drew Brazil out to win it. So there you have it. I think Brazil will win the 2018 World Cup. Write your predictions down in the comments, and yeah, if you're Brazilian, then subscribe. I've given you a reason, so go and do that, and yeah, enjoy the games, and stick around for more like this. So until next time, goodbye.